Fang Ling is the first boss with two distinct phases that you're likely to encounter in Wuchang Fallen Feathers. At the start of a fight, you face off against Fang Ling Perfect Bride, an agile attacker who uses the scissors-like dual blades Bitter Severance. When her health reaches zero, she transforms into Fang Ling Chimera, a monstrosity that attacks using its claws and swipes of its tail. So in this video, I'm going to give a build recommendation to beat the boss more easily, talk about the mechanics that gave me trouble, and wrap everything up with a full kill. So let's get into things, starting with what build to play. I found that Dual Blades Clash is excellent against Fang Ling. It completely trivializes her first phase, and it has more than enough damage to push through the second phase. If you want a full guide on how to play the Dual Blades build, including impetus repository skills, benedictions, etc., pause the video, then check my full video guide for the build, up in the card down in the description, or read the full written guide over at Maxroll, then come back. On the other hand, if you just want a quick TLDR, use the Twin Bandits and keep the Blade Master buff active at all times. Make sure you have both variants for Blade Master. Equip benedictions that increase her damage, such as Try Disciplinary Force, as it's far easier to burn her down and ignore fight mechanics. In particular, anything with burn synergy is also very good because she's super weak to fire. If you're struggling, especially with dodging things in Phase 2, use the spell Ethereal Form. This completely trivializes her second phase. If you don't have that yet, check my guide up in the card and down in the description on where to find it. For your tempers, Bone Needle Flame is great for damage, but again, if you're struggling in Phase 2, go with Bone Needle Leech as it provides a lot of healing. Jade Pendant-wise, take Dracolich, the boss in both phases has roars, Fiend Felling Pendant for damage in Phase 2, and the Twin Infants Pendant so you can maintain your stamina. Now take a minute to check over your Impetus repository tree, and make sure you have all the Swiftblade nodes as you really want those to maximize your damage. Also make sure you have Clash on both your light and heavy attacks, you're going to need it for Phase 1. Next up, let's talk about the boss's moveset. The fight starts with her flying into the air and firing 3 projectiles. Dodge these and try to use them to generate Skyborn Might. This way you can activate your Blade Master buff and go straight into a charged heavy attack as you begin attacking her. From here, most of your gameplay is just clashing with the boss and ignoring everything she does. Especially if you remember to temper fire before starting the fight, you have super high damage and you will absolutely melt her health. You'll probably stagger her pretty quickly, regardless of whether you're using light or heavy attacks. And most of what she does, you're immune because you're just clashing. Now, when you're close to the boss, she can do a roar that will interrupt you for a fraction of a second and does a little bit of damage. As long as you have the Dracolich Pendant equipped, though, the healing from Blade Master is plenty to just go back to attacking by immediately using a charged heavy attack. Also, from time to time, the Chimera will launch a line of fire. Dodge to the side to avoid this and just go back to hitting her. Again, it really doesn't do much, and the flames don't persist for very long. Yes, I know the angle of this clip is a little awkward. I killed her so fast she didn't get many opportunities to do it. In short, I found that when using the dual blades to clash, Phase 1 isn't really a thing. Now, Phase 2 is where things get a little trickier. You can't just clash through everything the boss does anymore. Her main attacks are claw slashes and spinning tail swipes. The tail swipes are particularly annoying because they can knock you down, and if you're knocked down in this game, it takes a million years to get up. But also, her attacks are fairly methodical, so most of the time you will be able to recover even if you're knocked down. One thing that helped me, though, was positioning to the side or slightly behind the boss, as a lot of her attacks are kind of frontal cones. So even if I got clipped by a tail swipe, if I was to the side, I'd have enough time to stand up before her next attack hit me. Now, when the boss uses her charge attack, dodge or cast Ethereal Form. She'll often charge several times in a row, so your best bet is to let her continue charging until she comes to a stop, then move in to attack her. On the other hand, when she uses a roar, your best bet is to just smack her in the face. Remember, you have the Dracolich Pendant, so it doesn't matter, and this is a really good opportunity to deal damage because her roar has a very long animation. For her multi-hit bite attack, she's constantly lunging forward, so the best way I found to deal with this was to dodge behind her or cast Ethereal Form. On the other hand, just moving away from a boss is a perfectly valid choice, as I noticed the hitbox on this one is kinda whack, and sometimes, even if I was to the side or behind the boss, it would still hit me anyway somehow. As her health gets lower, she's going to start firing a big beam of red energy into the air. This is actually a very good time if you need to either heal or refresh your temper to do so. Also, if you don't need to do either of those things, now is a really good time to deal damage. Just watch for the really faint swirlies on the ground, those indicate where the meteors are going to impact. But as long as you're not standing directly in a meteor impact, the boss doesn't do anything for a significant amount of time, and you can just keep wailing on her to get in the damage. Personally, I found that this boss was squishy in both Phase 1 and Phase 2. She is super weak to fire, so if you're using Bone Needle Flame and you keep your temper up, you can absolutely melt her. On the other hand, if you are struggling with Phase 2, there's 2 recommendations I have. The first is use Ethereal Form. This is your best friend, it is a super powerful defensive buff, and because the boss attacks relatively slowly, it felt pretty foolproof, at least to me. the other is to use Bone Needle Leech. This way, you're going to be constantly healing as you hit the boss. So if you take incidental damage, you won't need to pop a flask and risk anything there. You'll just be able to hit a boss and get your health back that way. And so those are the moves I'd watch out for and the strategy that I use to beat the boss. Next up, I'm going to show you the full boss fight. There is going to be a cut in the middle, and that is because I am skipping the cutscene, since I'm pretty sure it's longer than the second half of the fight anyway.
Yeah, my sister. Is it you?
Alright, so that's the build-in strategy that I used to beat the Perfect Bride and Chimera in Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Originally, I wasn't going to do a video for this boss because, personally, I found her to be pretty easy. That said, I did a poll on my channel. I asked people, hey, what bosses are you struggling with? And this won by a large margin. So, you asked for it, you got it. I hope this helps. And if you have any tips for things that help to get you through the fight, then please do share them down in the comments below. On the other hand, if you want to know where to get Ethereal Form, or more about the Blade Master build, again, check the links up in the card and down below. With that said, I'm also going to be working on a boss guide for the Bow Sorceress, so if that interests you, do be sure to get subscribed as it's coming out in the near future, and ring the notification bell, that way you won't miss it. But for now, I'm going to get going. Thank you very much for watching to the end. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like. I hope this helped, and I'll see you in the next one.